Let's get on going here. So as we're recording, I'm gonna go ahead and try to close things down. There we go. Ducks. There we go. All right, go and share my screen. IntelliJ open. Can you all see my screen there? Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's get that. What studio are we on this time? Is it validation? Sign up. We're on sign up, aren't we?
It was the second, yeah, spa sign up.
All righty. Good. Okay. Perfect. All righty. Just gonna go over everything here. So fun and full disclosure, because I didn't get to teach yesterday, I didn't catch up on this chapter's material. So you get to see Kyle going completely slightly blind, and basically it'll be good. And we'll see how I debug stuff, and hopefully don't embarrass myself too much, getting it all back and going in my head. So, all right, let's do this thing. All right, welcome to Studio Review. We're on 12.6 Studio Spa user sign up. So we're continuing on that spa day that we had last class on Thursday. For the studio, you will add functionality to allow users to sign up for your spa day app. The starter code has been modified where you left off last class. Grab the refactored code on the branch. So I'm gonna go in here. So one thing I want to show you is that this is the same exact spa day starter code. So I'm gonna open that up right here. So we have it open, everything's a-okay, but something unique or different this time is that we're on a different branch. So we had the starter master last time, and now we're on the sign up starter. So we switched branches for this one. So we're gonna just stick with this code. What I'm gonna do is just commit here on my starter master, just so I know what I did. I finished first spa studio. So I'm gonna go and commit. So what I did is click that green check mark up there. That's gonna commit. Remember this from unit 1 and a little bit in unit 2. We're gonna commit that to get. Commits are kind of like a save. You're saving it to your computer. So we're gonna commit. I don't care about my problems right now. Okay, now it's all committed. Remember, commit is saving it to your computer. Pushing it would be going to GitHub, so it's readily available all around the world. Committing it just saves it on your local machine. Okay, so we are officially committed. Now we can change our branches. That's why I committed. We should not commit anything, or we should not change our branches before we actually save those changes. So now we're gonna go up to user sign up starter and press checkout. There we go. Now we just switched our branches and it updated our code for us right in front of our eyes. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so after that long-winded explanation, we have our code to get ready and get started. So let's hop back over here. And you'll notice that the branch name field has been removed from the services selection. Once we implement user sign up functionality, we can use a given user's name to identify the spa client. And what I'm going to do also is turn on transcripts. And there we go. There we go. All right, transcripts are on. Okay, in this studio, we'll ask to write another model. User and client may at first appear redundant, but in the future, as you develop your spa application, you might find a scenario where a user is logging in who is also not a client. Ooh, okay. Let's go ahead and check out the code, what they actually have for us real quick to make sure any of that's in there. So they said we have models here. We have the client model, awesome, but we don't have the user model in there just yet. We do have our controller. Cool, 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 cool. So move on to 12.6.1, getting ready. Within Spade, create the following files. Create a user controller in the launchcode.spade.controllers package. Add the controller annotation along with the request mapping user. Okay, that's a lot. And Kyle's memory today is not the best. So what we're gonna do is go right click on controllers. New Java class, and they asked us to call it user controller. Fantastic. Do that. And we're gonna add that. I'm gonna just say, remember, don't ask me again, please. Thank you. Add that. And up here to make it a controller, we use the annotation at controller. Cool. And they gave us a lot of instructions here. Oh, it even looks worse when it's all pasted out too. Let's see what else we got to do here. So we created the user controller in the controllers. Awesome, awesome. Add the at controller annotation along, there it is, along with the at request mapping user. All right, so I'm going to do that. Lazy Kyle's going to copy that because that code is already written for me. And then we're going to say public string, because our return types for our controller methods are always string. Public string, and then configure routes in the controller. What is this going to be? I don't even know. Create user page, maybe? Sure, why not, Kyle? All right, we're going to just return null for right now because I have no idea what I'm going to return yet, and I have some errors I want to take care of. Just because these are not imported. So I hover my mouse over the word controller, press import class, hover over request mapping, press import class. And there we go. Those errors are done skis. Coming back up here, it doesn't really tell us anything that we're supposed to do with the request mapping. So I'm going to remove that. Don't need it anymore. Save it and pause here. Look up at screen and ask my three friends, do we have any questions right now?
Should request mapping be within the controller, or does it go above it with at controller?
Touche. It wasn't even a question. That was a Kyle. What are you doing? You're absolutely right. We need to add this annotation. It's technically where it is okay, but I think you're absolutely right. That is wanting it to be above the controller. So let's go ahead and do that. What that means is, if we put it here, is that now every single method, every single request mapping below will now have the field user there. So what do I mean by that? We come up here and we just created slash, or we said localhost 8080. 8080 there, and I did slash user, and now anything else after that slash user will be in that controller. So when I say slash user, I say, hey, go to the user controller. That's what this request mapping is doing. It's telling it that anything with this route, go to that controller. So we can put something here, go to that same controller. So good call out there, Katie. Yes, I was supposed to put that there. All right, create a new folder, user slash, within resources slash templates. All right, let's go and do that. So we're gonna come down here to resources, into templates, right click new. And we're gonna be making a directory here, not a package, a directory. Say user. We are not doing packages because we're not within our main here, within the Java code. This is down here, it's just normal files. So we do directories, not packages. Cool. Create an index.html and an add.html templates within your resources templates user. Okay, so what was that? Index and add. Sounds good. New time leaf index.html. So as you saw, I used those existing, that existing fragment. I go in here and it's always gonna have this little cats thing, but we don't need that. And also it has this, I need to fix this bug. There we go. And that should be up there in the HTML. What am I doing? All right, new, another file, and this one's gonna be the add.html. We're again making these time leaf templates because it's in the templates folder, and you usually use a lot of time leaf in these assignments. So I'm just assuming they're gonna be time leaf. So there we go. And my OCD is kicking out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that formatted. Perfect. Look at that. All right. What was that?
Can I ask a question?
Oh yeah, please, Katie.
Will it work if you don't do it as a time leaf? I think when we went through and did it last night, we were trying to do it. We didn't quite make it all the way through, but we did it as an HTML file.
Oh yeah, well, it's still HTML file. The only thing that makes it a time leaf is just adding this in there.
Okay.
So that's why it says a timely file, but technically it absolutely is still HTML. So you can see that extension at the very end, still an HTML file.
So
Time
not
leaf is
doing
just
it
that,
as a time leaf, it'll still work.
absolutely, yeah. As you saw with add.html, I didn't even use that time leaf template. I just right click, said new file,
Okay.
and I just pasted it in there. So yeah, either way. The time leaf template that Chris talked the class through was just there for convenience. It's not a necessity. Cool. All right, on to the create a user class within the models. So that's what we're going to do here. So it's going to go under the models, right click, new Java class, and type in user. Cool, cool. All right. We are all done with 12.6.1. Any more questions? Okie dokie. On to 12.6.2, creating the model. Your user class should have a few private fields with getters and setters. Username, email, password. All right, let's go ahead and do that then. All right, as always, it goes at the very top. Our class variables are always here. And then what comes next after class variables? Anything?
Your methods.
Constructor.
It's the constructor. Very good. Goes constructors, and then it goes methods with those getters and setters. I can't spell constructor. Constructor. I just messed it up even more. No, there it is. So under class variables, that's where we need to start adding them. Remember, class variables are always private, and then username. Username is going to have numbers and letters in it, so that's going to be a string. So username, and we're just not going to initialize it to anything. Typically, especially with my coding OCD, I like to do at least initialization to null, but in this case, we're just not initialize it to anything, just because we'll just initialize maybe in the constructor if we need to build one. Hasn't really told us yet. Say string now, email. An email is a string, private string password. There we go. All right. That is it. Oh, and then we need to do getters and setters. So let me go ahead and do that. What we're going to do is right click, I believe. And then what was it? Generate, right? Yeah, I need getter and setter for all of those, please. Thank you. So much time saved. Perfect. All righty. I think we are good there with 12.6.2. Any questions on that one? Okie dokie. 12.6.3, rendering the add user form. In the user controller, create a handler method, display add user form to render the form. Okay. And the handler should correspond to, there it is, path user / add. There we go. All right. So we're going to go over to add here. Oh, that's add HTML. We need to go to user controller, excuse me. We're going inside of here. It said we need to build that route. So they wanted us to call it display add user form. And they said it wanted to be at this path, user / add. Now, how we do that is that it needs to be a getter. So we're going to say a get mapping. So we need to show information. We need to show the page. We're not interacting with any events. Therefore, it would be a post mapping. So it's going to be a get mapping. So in here is the fun part. Look again how it says in /user / add. Sometimes you might be inclined to do this. However, we already have user up here. So like I said, this appends that user automatically to all of our routes inside of the class. So I actually don't need this user or this add or that /. So I can just click add here. That's why we can do that. And then it says we need to return the path to add.html. This one's a little different because add is not directly in the templates directory. It's in one of the subdirectories, user. So you actually have to type in that path. So it's going to be user / add. And it's not going to be single quotes because I'm not in JavaScript. I'm gonna put those double quotes, there we go. So there we go, now we'll actually display that ad within within the user directory. Excuse me, allergies are kicking my tush. All right, so we have that user/ad there. Awesome, awesome. Go. All right. Within the add.html template, create a form that accepts inputs for each of the user's class properties. Include an additional password input field to verify the password input. This form should be set up to post to /user. Okay. Be sure to set type to password for the password inputs. Okay, let's go ahead and just create the form for us. So we're going to this add.html here. We need to create a form. So hence I'm going to start with form. Now we can go right into creating the inputs and everything like that, but what I'm going to do up here in form to just get it done is that it wants us to post to the user. Let's just post to /user. So to do that, we need to say method equals post. So that's how we are going to post. Now we have to tell it to go to /user. So how we do that is with the action attribute. We say /user. So now all of our posts will go directly to this /user route, because that's what we put in the action there. So on to the fun part. Let's go ahead and create our inputs. So let me say, what was it? We need username, input type equals text, name equals username. There we go. Awesome. We can also include an ID in there too if we wanted to. We'd say ID equals username. You don't have to necessarily, at least for right now, from what we've seen, but you can do it just for good practice. After that, we need to do 3 more inputs. Okay, so we need to do an email. So we need to do a password, verify password. One thing that we need to do also is that they said to change the type to password. So we're going to change both of these to password. One more thing I want to show you is that for email, we can actually make this type email. So it'll actually help us out a little bit. So email is a proper form. You can also do it for phone numbers too, regular text. And there's a couple other ones out there if you ever want to look into it. Next thing, we need to change the names to make them unique. Here we go, email. Change this to email. Change this to password. Just password. And verify password. Verify password. Any questions up into this point? I'm gonna just camel case that for clarity. Okay, oh, I am missing one thing though. Come on, Kyle, you need to have a submit button. Type equals submit. And don't forget, we need to include a value for our submit. Sign up. There we go. We have successfully created a form there. Well, coding-wise, we've successfully created a form. Let's see what we got to do next, see if they want us to do anything. Sure to set the type password. That's what we already did there. Oh, and they also told you this too. Cool. So that type to email for your email. So cool. Let's go ahead and just pause for a second. All right, that was the end of 12.6.3, but let's go see if it's actually working. So I'm going to stop my server here and rerun it. And I'm going to just see. Am I glitching out on your guys' end by any chance? Okay, I'm hearing feedback on my end. Come on, computer. There we go, it's all started. Cool, cool, cool. So now I need to go to localhost /user. Should give us back an error. Perfect. It's a 404 because we don't have anything for that. But we do have one for the add route. Look at that. Well, that form's not as pretty as I wanted it to be, but whatever. Do some BRs there so we can just make it look a little nicer. But we'll reset our stuff here in a little bit. All we wanted to see was the page is created. So we are good so far. Awesome. Let's go ahead and hop back here. And so what we need to do next, we're on to 12.6.4, processing form submission. Number one, within the user controller, create a handler method with this signature. All right, user controller, let's go over there. I copied that. User controller, here we go. I'm gonna paste it in there. There is that signature. I'm gonna go and import these models, and we're gonna import user. We need to import, make sure you import the correct ones, otherwise we're gonna have a bad day. I wanna import my own user, which is gonna be right here. I know that because it says spot.a.main and it's within the spot.a models. There we go. Also bring that in. Remember, we're importing user here because we're telling our MVC, our Spring Boot, what we want our information to look like when it comes back. All right, very cool. So we're gonna go hop back here. This will be the model binding to create the new user object user and pass it into your handler method. Cool, check out that verify parameter matches the password within the user object. Check that the verify parameter matches the password within the user object. Let's render the. Okay, so this is gonna be a fun one right here. So check that the verify parameter matches the password within the user object. Okay, if it doesn't, we need to do the user index, or sorry, yeah, if it wow, if it does match, we're going to send them to index. If it doesn't match, we're going to re-show the add page. Make sure I get that right. Cool, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna check something. To typically check something, we're gonna do an if statement, because we need to ask ourselves a question. Is this user.password, so we get password, equal to the verified password? So if it is equal, we need to send them over to index. Index is in the user directory. So we just don't put index, we put user/index. Ooh, but what if we're having that bad day and it doesn't match? We're gonna return back to user/add and take out that little comment there. All right. So that's that. Let's go and see what else. All right. So let's go ahead and try this out and see what happens. Let's stop this, rerun our server. All right, I'll start it. We're gonna go back over here. Close add, press enter. Looks a little nicer. Still not very appealing, but close enough. All right, my username is just gonna be Kyle. My email is gonna be kyle@mail.com. My password is just gonna be test, T-E-S-T, and then I'm going to do the same exact password, T-E-S-T. If this works, then we should see a blank page, because if it's blank, that means we went to index.html where you have no HTML written. If it's wrong, it should go to add where we'll see the form again. Right now, I typed in test on both of these, so technically we should see a blank page, but we click sign up, and where'd it go? Oh, because it posted. Because, I can even show you the original error I wanted to show you guys. What happened is I don't have any mapping to this, so we actually have to do a post mapping on here. So actually, I can just do a post mapping. I don't have to put actually anything in the parentheses here, because remember, we already have our /user up here for us. Down here, it just needs to post to /user, so I don't have to put anything in here. If I wanted to put anything in here, just put a little slash like that if we wanted to. Either one, by default, it's always this anyway. So you just don't want to, you just don't feel like typing 5 characters out, you don't have to. All right, I'll leave it in there just for our reference though. I'm gonna stop that, replay, take a drink of water. How you doing out there, Katie? All good?
Mm-hmm.
Brenda, how are you doing?
Good.
Good, good. All right. So we are all started back up there. We're going to come over here, refresh, cancel, psych. I'm going to go to add again. I'm going to say Kyle again. Kyle at gmail.com. TEST. Sign up. And we are still getting that. What are you doing? What are you doing? Slash mapping, fallback. Liar. What am I doing wrong? Post mapping. The user. You shouldn't have put that in there. Try one more time. It's going to the right thing, right? Yeah. Slash user. I know I'm wrong, but I think IntelliJ is wrong. IntelliJ is probably right. I'm doing something dumb. Let's see what I'm doing. It's okay. It's a mistake, but there's only happy mistakes. Thank you, Bob Ross. All right, cancel that. Oh, you know what? No, I wouldn't have done that. Let me do add here. Refresh this just a few times. There we go. Test, sign up. There it is. All right. I just had to refresh that, I think. Let me go ahead and make sure, because I want to make sure that removing that didn't do something. And my brain's just incorrect. It's not that. Replay. All started. There we go. Refresh that. The more we know. Let's go and refresh just a few more times. There we go. Well, test@mail.com. Okay, never mind. What I said was incorrect then. Maybe is it? Maybe it's empty quotes. Maybe that's what I'm going for. It might be because it isn't the maybe because of the extra. Yeah. Oh crud! You shouldn't put the slash in there at all, Kyle. That's why. What was happening is that I was actually looking for user / because I put an extra slash in there, so it appended it. So that makes sense. That makes sense. We would want to put in that empty string there. That's my bad, y'all. All right, let's go back over here. Do that too many times. / add. Cool. Okay, so we're back to where we should be. So again, if the passwords match, it should take us to a blank screen. If they are the same, then, or I'm sorry, if they're different, then it should bring us back to the form. So we really don't need anything else in there. We're going to do this test and then test. There we go. Sign up. And it brings us back to the same page. Keeps bringing us back to the form. So what's actually going wrong? My passwords were correct. We're both matching and it didn't take me to index. Is something wrong with my if statement? Well, my if statement says, is my user's password equal to verify? Well, yeah, that's a correct if statement and it should be returning that index, but something's making it trigger to here. What's going on with this is that this verify is actually coming back as null. There's no verify information coming through. Why that is because it needs to have the same exact name as what's in my HTML. So I need to come over here and change the name of this input to verify so that information actually gets funneled into where that method is. So let's stop that, replay. We're going to try that again. All right, cool. Refresh. All right, Kyle, test@mail.com, TEST. There we go. And now we're going to a blank page. we just have to make sure that those parameters match exactly what our name is within our forms. So make sure that's correct. All right. Now that we've finished up that, let's move on down to here to 12.6.5. But first, I'll ask if there's any questions, anything before I keep going. Okie dokie. Down to 12.5 or 12.6.5, refining the form submission. Once registered, we want the user to access the form selecting their SPA services. So in user/index.html, add a thref element to take the user back to the root path of the app, where the service selection template will be rendered. Okie dokie. Once registered, we want to access the form. Okay. So I'm wondering how they want us to actually do that. So they want us to create a th, which is fine. We can do that. Okay. Let's go and see that. So I'm just going to make sure that under the spotlight controller, we still have our menu. Cool. And that's at the post mapping, get mapping. There it is. So this get mapping is what they want us to go back to. So index.html. I guess they just want us to put a single link in this index.html. Okay. So to do a link, we do a, then thref for this one, equals, and I always forget this. I think I have to be, where's my stuff? I forgot. Was it just slash here, or don't have to do the at?
Yeah, slash static.
Oh, what was that slash what?
Dot slash static, the slash CSS, like that.
Let me go and look it up real quick, just so I make sure I get the right one they want us to use. But that sounds familiar. That's right. Okay. To do that, so what you do is do the at sign, curly brackets, and then where we want to go.
Slash.
Yeah, so we'll just want to go to our slash directory there. Go to selections. Let's go and make sure that works. Yeah, thank you. That was what you're going for. Well, let's make sure it works first. There's that. There we go. Awesome. So what we just need to do there was put in just that slash. So yes, thank you for your help. Awesome. Yeah, and then for these timely URLs, it's just you always have to have that at sign, then the curly brackets there, just to tell them go to this link. Oops, and not what I wanted at all. Cool, cool, cool. All right. That was number one. On to number two here. If the form is re-rendered when a password is not verified, we should let the user know that their form was not properly submitted. Use the model add attribute to add an error attribute, letting the user know that their password should match. This model attribute will need to correspond to an element in the template that will only render when the error text when the passwords do not match. Okay. Sounds good. So what we have to go and do in here is that this portion is working, but we need to add something now to tell them, hey, something went awry. We need you to make sure your passwords match. So what we need to do is add attribute to our model. So we can't do it below our return because once we hit return, we're out. So what we do is we do it above it. So we say model.add attribute. And what we want to do is we're going to create an error attribute there. So we name our attribute and then we say, make sure those passwords match. Cool. So we made this error attribute, but if we send this information over to our time leaf template, there's nobody there to use it. So naturally what we have to do is we go into the add.html because that's where we're sending them. Go to add HTML. We need to show them an error. Typically, I usually see errors at the top, so we're going to go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do a nice little paragraph, say th text, and we're going to inject that text. So we say, yes, $, there we go. $, we say error. I'm going to try this out. I think this will work. So we'd say th if, what was it? If error does not equal null, meaning if there's something in there, then render it. Let's see if that works. I love doing the time leaf section because I really get to use time leaf in my normal routine. So I just like to try things out because it is a cool language. There we go, all started, awesome. Over here, go to localhost 8080 /user/add. Awesome, what we're gonna do is just type in this. There we go, make sure those passwords match. Awesome, If you wanna see that again at a slower pace. So what I did is I just typed in AAA, and I typed in a couple extra A's. Clearly these passwords are not gonna match, they're different lengths. You click sign up and they didn't match. Look at that. So perfect. If we wanted to make it like a little bit nicer or something, we can do like inline styling or something. So style equals like color, because that's a text color. Say red, please. Something like that. Completely up to you. So there's some inline styling. Make it look cool. Awesome, awesome. Any questions? All good? All righty. If we send a user back, I can't read today. If we send the user back to repopulate the form, it would be nice not to clear the previous submission. We won't need to save the password entries in this fashion. In the form submission handler, add the username and email fields of the submitted user as the model attributes. Back in the form, add a value attribute to these form fields and make sure to make them equal to the model attributes. Okay, all right, we'll do this. This is fine. So in the form submission handler, add the username, email fields of the submitted as model attributes. Let's go and do that first. So what that says is that we got to go back over to user controller and add 2 more attributes in there. So I'm going to just copy this, paste it twice. We called it username and email. Neato. Come over here, say user, because you have to get it from the user. Now we have the user.get username. And this one, we're going to do user.get email. There we go. So now we're taking the information from the passed in model, and we're going to send it back over the template when the passwords aren't the same. So now that we're doing that, again, if we're sending information over, someone's got to be there to receive it. So let's hop over to our add.html, and we're going to add those value attributes that it asked. Now this one I am going to hopefully do correctly, but we'll see. So we have to say value, because that's what's going to be inside of there. And I believe it's $, this, and then we're going to say username. So provide that username if it's there. People watching this are probably going to be like, Kyle, do you know your stuff or do you not know your stuff? Like, I kind of know it. Doesn't that count? All right, there we go. Let's go to run this. All right, all started. /add. Oh, see, you didn't know your stuff, Kyle. You didn't know your stuff. What is this? Let's go ahead and hop into the reading and see exactly where this is. Don't tell me the answer, you two. I'm gonna figure it out myself. All right, it's gonna be most likely under, clearly the section that we had to read. So models and model binding, let's go ahead and take a look for it. So create a model, models and data, model binding. I'm gonna see it's probably in a little bit further in. That unique ID, let me see. Let's go and just check out model binding and see if it's there. What I'm looking for is that input. Let's go and find it. Let's see what the directions said. If we come down here to back in the form, add a value attribute to these form fields and make sure they're equal to the model attributes. Right, that's what I did. Fine. Tell me then, where's value at? Which one is fine? Do we need to add the value attribute? Am I even in the right section? Who knows? We'll see if this one, and if it doesn't have it in this one, there it is. It's TH value. Gotcha. Haha. See, you guys didn't have to tell me. Figure out eventually. All right, so what that is that I should have just known that from the start there. So we had to add the time field, so it's a time or a time leaf attribute of value. There we go. Now we'll probably be a little bit better. Let's go ahead and stop that server, run it. Cool, cool, cool. All righty, go over here, go to sweet. That looks a lot nicer. All right, Kyle, test@mail.com, AAA. Sign up. Look at that. Our form looks pretty cool. It kept my name and my email in there. That's so convenient. I love this application. Awesome, awesome. Any questions on that? Cool, cool. Well, in that case, that is the end of the studio officially, but feel free to stick around for those bonus missions.
How do you know what things need the TH and what ones don't? So like I was looking at so Steve gave us some code for the end of it, and he had an add.html, the action is TH action instead of just action. But it seemed like it worked for you, so I don't know what the difference would be then.
I don't think let's see, TH action. For that, you just get to know which one you need because they have different personalities, right? If you just put text there, text equals something, that won't work. But if you put TH text, that will inject text in there. So if you need time leaf to do something special, like if you need to put a variable in there, that's kind of like the biggest thing that is an indicator is that if you need to inject information, sorry, my IntelliJ is frozen right now, but you need to inject information, you're most likely going to be using a time leaf attribute.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest key. The other ones, like what was the one that's not very noticeable? Like this one right here. Like if they didn't tell us, it would have been kind of tricky to know. These are the ones that kind of just you learn from the
Experience.
wisdom. Yeah, or just from the directions, like keeping out for like key words like that. Like they just blatantly told us to use th-href. But this one would be more tricky. But typically 90% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time, if you need to inject information in that, you're gonna be using timely. That's the biggest thing that timely does. Cool, good question. Anything else that you'd want to talk about before we hop in here?
No.
Cool. On to 12.6.6 then, bonus missions. Add an ID field to the user along with accessor methods with appropriate access level. Create a user data class within the, oh wow, this is a lot. All right, create a user data class within the org.launchcode.spa data, excuse me, that provides access to a list of users. Add get by ID. Okay, whew. Let's do this thing. Add an ID field to user along with accessor levels. Let's go ahead and do that. That seems easy enough. What I'm going to do here is put it at the very top. Private string ID. Cool. That was easy, right? But one thing about ID is that we can go ahead and add the getters and setters for it, but we're going to talk about them. There we go. So we have our get ID and set ID. Once our IDs are set for something though, they typically hold true and stay there. Therefore, we don't ever want people just out there setting our IDs. Once an ID is set, it typically stays set. So in this case, if we were to change accessor levels, we'd want this one to be private. We'd only want methods within, for whatever reason, our user class to actually set our IDs, nobody else outside of it. However, they can still go ahead and get it. That's completely fine. Just no setting IDs. All right. If you're asking yourself, okay, what would be a scenario that maybe you want to set IDs in the methods or inside your class? Far and few between. No really good reason to do that unless you have to. Like there is some edge case out there, but most of the time you're not going to be doing that. But if you want to put in there just in case, set it to private. All right, so we have officially put that ID field in there. Create a user data class within the data package. Do we have a data package yet? No, we don't. I have to go do that. So new package, I'm going to say data. In this case, we're going to do new Java class user data. Cool. Then the org.launch code data provide access to a list of users and oh, geez, Louise. Okay, wants us to create 3 methods. Let's go ahead and do that. So it says we need to provide access to a list of users. So the first thing is first, I'm going to create a class variable up here that's private array list of user type of this one. I double clicked on that just to help me import it there. And I'm going to call it just users equals new array list. Cool. There we go. It's red because it hasn't been imported, so I highlight over it. And I go and press import class. Awesome. All right, so it says we need to go to do add, get all, and get by ID. Add's easy enough. Let's go and do that. It's going to be public. We're going to say void because it's not going to need to return anything. We're going to say add user. Well, they just want us to call it add, so we'll say add. All right, we need to take in the user that we need to add. And then we just add it to users. So we say users.add. Right? Yeah, user.add. I'm going to say user. There we go. And then we can say return down here. We don't have to because we're not returning anything, but for good housekeeping, why not? Next one is get all. So this is going to get all of our users back. So we say public, and now we need to return an array list of all of our users. So get all. We're not going to take in anything because we're just giving everything back. So it's almost like a getter for our users. So we say return users. We say this.users too. I like to say this, referring to a class variable. And then finally, we need to do the get by ID. So we're going to say public array list get by ID. All right, so I need to be able to, well, first, we are not going to return an entire list because IDs are unique. So we should only actually be returning one user there. But we also need to take in the ID that we're going to be, that's assigned to the user. They didn't really tell me what the ID was supposed to be, but I think it was actually probably supposed to be a number because we've always been doing numbers so far. So I'm gonna actually change this to an int real quick. Why I'm doing this right now is because it's going to affect, I think I'm all good now, right? It's gonna affect what we take in here to get by ID. So we're gonna say int ID, so the ID to actually find. Now I need to go through each user and try to look at each single ID to see if it matches. If I'm going through a set of things or a list of things, I'm iterating through it, AKA I need to use a for loop. So I say for, I'm definitely in JavaScript mode right now, for int I equals 0, I less than users.size, and I plus plus. There we go. So this I can just do it with a traditional for loop. You could also use a for each if you wanted to. That's completely fine because we don't truly need the index. So if we wanted to rewrite it to a for each, you definitely can. I'm just a old-fashioned guy, so I went the traditional for loop. So if our users dot get at that I index dot get ID equals equals, because we're using primitives here, so I did the equals equals ID. Then I want you to return my users.getI. That's it right there. That's how we do that method. If you want to make it a little bit more fancy, you can go ahead and put those curly brackets there. This is kind of also what it would look like. If we don't have anything, then we can return a null, meaning we didn't find anything. There's nobody by that ID. We do have to put that return down there because every path has to return something. If we don't, we get an error. See that error down there? No paths, return something, or missing return statement. Yes, I know. Control Z. All right. So any questions on those there? Anything at all? All right. In that case, let's see what else we need to do here. In the user/index.html, view display a list of all users by username. Each username should have a link that takes you to the details page that lists the user's username and email. Oh my gosh. That is a bonus mission right there. Okay. All right. Let's start with the first part. In the user/index view, display the list of users by username. Okay. Let's put on our coding hats for this one. We're going to go into index.html here. Make sure that we're at the right one. So I'm going to actually double click. You got to make sure that you're in the correct HTML page. Otherwise, you're going to be super confused. Like, where's all my code at? And now I want to go ahead and I need to loop through users here. Well, before I do that, I know I need to go ahead and pass back. Oh, God. No, I can do that. Pause for 1 second. They might have gotten me on this one. All right, well, let's see if we can do it that there. What's going through my head right now is like, okay, user data. I have to set that to static so things are interacting properly, but I think technically we're gonna be only using user data in one location, the user controller, so I think we should be fine. But you can also set it to static if you wanted to, so it stays consistent. We're gonna go do that. So up here, what we need to do is have somewhere all of our users are held. Where is that information actually being stored at? So we need to put it up here in the user controller where that information lives. So I'm gonna say private user data equals new user data. Who would have guessed? There we go. All right, so now we're actually have something to store all of our users in with those 3 helpful methods. Now, when the password is verified, this is where they go to the index. That's where they go to the index page. So in here is where we're gonna provide those lists of users. So to provide information to our time leaf, we need to do our model.add attribute. And in here, we say user data, or this.user data, .get all. So we get all those users back. Cool. And we're going to send that over to index. So now we actually have information flowing through. Additionally, we also need to add to our list whenever there's a successful registration. So what we're going to do also is that it's only a successful registration if the passwords are equal. So before we pass over that information to our time leaf, we can also add the user, this guy right here, into our user data. So we say user data.add, that's that method we created, we say user. Cool. All right, now we're adding our successful registration and then passing all of those users over to our time leaf to actually render something. So now it's time to build that thing that renders stuff. So let's go and hop over to the index.html here. And this is where we need to build a fun thing. So what we need to do is I'm going to build a block here that loops through all those users and then just prints out something to the screen. Let's go and do that. TH block. And then what was it? TH. Oh gosh, what was the loop one? I don't have my notes. Pop quiz. What was it? Is it
like a for loop? TH4?
Is it TH4 still? Okay, I don't know why I'm having a brain fart on that one. Okay, thank you. All right, so then we have to just give an arbitrary name to our variable. So we'll say user. And then this is where we need to import that list of users from the models. So in here, oh, I can give a name to it today. User controller, I did not. So what I'm gonna do is say users here. My bad. There we go. Now I actually added a thing there. Cool. We're gonna go back to index dimensional. And now we import users here by using that $, curly brackets, users, close curly bracket. Cool. So now we're able to loop through each of those users. So within the context of these TH blocks, I can now use the user information. As of right now, it said they want us to create a link. So I know we're gonna need an href for something. So I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, href. We'll do that in a second. But in here is where I need to place that user information. So I say th text to inject the text. $, that curly bracket user, but we can't just inject the object here. Remember, user is this guy. It's a whole list of different properties or fields, however you want to refer to them, are these class variables. So we need to actually pull out the information we need from that guy. So what did it want us to display? By username. Okay, so I'm gonna go by username. So I need to pull this one out. So what we can do here, say username. Now, sometimes we would just immediately say, okay, let's do dot get username here, because that's what Java would do. We're in time leaf, so we have to go by time leaf's rules. In time leaf, when we want to get something out of a model, we say dot and then what we want to get. Now, a thing about this, and I really, really want to call it out, is that you must have a getter for this information in order for this to work. What time leaf does is that it automagically takes dot username and says, okay, they meant to say get username. And it goes and asks Java, the user class in Java, for that get username, and returns that information that way. So make sure you have a getter created for that variable in order for it to work. It also has to be named exactly the same too, or you have to call it exactly like this in order for it to work properly. Time leaf helps out a lot, but you got to play by its rules. All right, so this is how we're going to create that statement there. So what we're going to do, not commit, we're going to go ahead and see if this actually works. So let's go ahead and run. Cool. All started up. We're going to go over here to /add. Press enter. Refresh because I'm paranoid. Type in Kyle. That's me, my username. test@mail.com. Test. Sign up. Oh no. Let's see what happened here. I typed my loop wrong.
Sorry, that was just a guess.
No, you're good, you're good. Oh, it's th each. That's right, okay. Because I was like, it's not, it's like, they always throw me off because it's like, it's not for, because you think it would be for, right? It is th each for that one, th each. Cool, now we won't forget it, right?
Right.
th each. This guy said it's only been like a few days too. I'm like, I should remember this. I just taught it to you all, right? Oh gosh. All right, we're started back up there. Let's go back over here to user/add and try this puppy again. All right, Kyle, test@mail.com, test, and then test. Sign up. All right, let's see what this one is. All right, line 10, could not parse expression. Oh, because it's, so what happened here is, this is just my fault. I didn't know it would react this way. On line 10, column 16, what this is saying is that this right here is not a correct expression, which is absolutely true. We don't have anything in there. So I'm just gonna take this out because we haven't done this part yet. So I just wanted to leave it blank until we got there. So let's go and try this one more time. Maybe. All started. Gotta love it when your computer actually works today. Nice and fast. All right, there we go. Kyle, test@mail.com, tst, sign up. There we go. And we're actually starting to show our names here, but they want to do a list. So they wanted to go line by line. So what I'm going to do, just change there. We're not going to redo this. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in a div, just so it's line by line, because I like to make sure it kind of looks okay. Cool. All right. So that's just going to make it go one beneath each other. Hey, okay. But the thing we still need to do is that it needs to go to a detail page that lists the user's name and email. So basically what it's saying, I'm assuming, is that it wants to go to a page that just displays Kyle or the username and their email. That's about it. So before we can even do that, we have to go and create that information. So what I can do is I'm going to go to user controller here, because I'm assuming they're going to want something like user slash, like we need to define, and this is actually where this comes in handy. We could do a, technically we could do either a request parameter, as in we can just put it into the URL where I want to go, or I could do it in the path. So I could say, why don't I just say the username and then details or something like that. We could do a path like that where the username changes to whatever the username actually is, whether it be Kyle or something else. I don't know. Kyle, in fact, my nerdy 5-year-old one was RoboWiz111 as my claim to fame on RuneScape back in the day. Anywho, whatever your username is, it's going to change out to that. So that's what we're going to do here. We haven't done class or path variables too much. That's what I want to do. All right, so user controller. So what we need to do is do an @get mapping. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to say slash, and how we do our path variables, we do curly brackets, username, and then, oh, and we actually won't need that slash there. Slash details. Now, do you need the details in there? No, not necessarily. You don't have to put details in there if you don't want to. I just like to do it just to show we can add more things to the path. And we say public string get user details, something like that, something arbitrary. Now remember, we need to actually add our stuff in here. So we're going to say path variable, say string, and then username. So we can actually get that path variable out of here and get the information for that user. Oh, how are we going to do that, Kyle?
So
yeah,
if you're doing it this way, wouldn't it mean that the only way that you could get to the user's information then be after going through the form? Because it's following add?
So the only way to get to the list of,
Yeah.
as of right now, technically, you can navigate there directly. I thought that's what they wanted. Was it something different?
No, I was just thinking further down the line. Sorry, I was trying to thinking further and bigger.
Yeah, no, so you're absolutely right. So yeah, no, it's okay. So the flow of this is not the neatest. So I agree with that. So I would not recommend building it in this way, but it's a good way to just show starting a flow as we're working with it. So yeah, good call out there. One thing that we are going to have a problem with though is that I'm right now taking in the username here, but technically we aren't really supposed to, we don't have a method. They didn't tell us to build a method for finding a user by username. We did it by ID. So instead of actually passing in the username here, I'm going to pass in the ID as a path variable. So I'm going to change that. So I'm going to say ID. And ID is actually an int. So say ID there. And now we can actually utilize the 3 methods that we created in user data to get that stuff. So what I'm going to say is user found, I'm going to just say user, whatever. There we go, user data dot what am I doing? This dot user data. I was trying to do a static method for a second. Get by ID, there we go, and say ID. Awesome. So now that we have that information coming back from our user data, hopefully that user is there. What we're going to do is that we are going to now pass it in as a model attribute. So we say model.add attribute. Oh, and I also need to put model there. Model. Does model have to be first? It absolutely does. That is how it looks for it. Again, we've got to play by time leash rules. Add attributes, and then we're going to say user, perfect, and then user. Awesome, awesome. All right. After we do that, we need to actually return it to something. So we're going to return it to this thing called details page. We can also just inject HTML directly in here if we really wanted to, if we would just put a response body, if we just want to do something small, but we're not like that. So what we're going to do is I just copy that index.html. I'm going to paste it in there and call it details HTML. And real quick, I just remembered in user controller, what we need to do is it's in the user directory. So we say user / details like that. Perfect. All right, go over to details and we're going to change some stuff up. What we said we're going to do here is it wants us to display the username and the email. So that's what we're going to do. So we say div username is, and then in here, we're going to say div t, or we just do paragraph or something like that, th text and just inject it in there. So what we say is $, go user dot username first. Cool, cool. Copy that. And now we got to display the email. Same email. Remember that emails actually technically have hyphens in them? Isn't that crazy? No one ever does it. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So now our details is in there. Information is being passed over in that user object. Awesome. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but maybe I'm not. So user ID, details. Okay. One last thing is that we now need to go to this route when they click that href. So that's what we need to do. So to do that, this is where it's going to get fuzzy. It's going to be an index here, and we actually need to create that href. What we're going to do is go to @this, and we got to go to /user / I'm going to include the path variable user.id /details. I think that's correct. Fingers crossed. Again, we're going all natural here today because I do not remember too much about this portion of the time leap because I wasn't able to be at class on Monday, but it is fun just getting right back on that bike no matter how many times you get scraped up. All right, let's go ahead and start that and see if we can go to our details. And if not, what we have to fix. All right, user / add. Awesome. Let's do the same. TEST, sign up. All right, cross those fingers. Boom. And boom goes the dynamite. How can I inject that directly then? Oh no, TH. Actually, read out. THH ref inject. Variable. Oh, okay. I just don't need the $sign. If I want to inject just stuff right in there, I do not need this $sign. It's just curly brackets. Found that on this puppy. There we go. All I typed in was href inject. And it's the first one on Stack Overflow because amen to Stack Overflow. It's like Stack Overflow, then Wikipedia. They're just the best. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So we are good there. We're going to stop our server, restart it, and try it once again. Cool, all started. Come back over here, come over here. There we go, press add. Go into here. Kyle, test@mail.com, TEST, sign up, click Kyle. Boom, again. What? Liar. You do too know what that is. Do I have a get ID? I do have a get ID, right? So Oh, okay. Fail to convert type of Java lang string requires type int. Oh, because it needs to convert it to a string. Interesting.
Because it's in a URL?
Yeah, because I think Timely's just complaining that it was an int, but you're trying to append an int to a string in Timely.
Does Timeleaf not take ints?
I think at that point, it wants a string. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we can just do that technically. Technically, that should work. Let's see. And just in case it doesn't, what I'm going to do, because that's a primitive, I'm going to go to username. I'm going to type in integer as the capitals. There we go. Just so it's actually the object, so it has all those helper methods in there. And I know toString is definitely one of them, but I think we can just, let's see, id dot to, yeah, no primitives. So no toString on primitives. So there you go. Now it's not the primitive, it is actually the class version of integer. So it's still an integer, but now we have that toString method to help it out with. These bonus missions today, my gosh. It is a challenge. I guess it's supposed to be a challenge, but yeah. All righty, user / add. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Just works. Okay. I did that to myself. There we go, sign up. Cool, test. You know what? Fine. I tried playing by your rules, but you don't want to do it. Let's do string then. Or you know what? No, you don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We can keep it integer. Because Kyle, you're going to keep doing integers. What we're going to do here is actually turn it back to a primitive. Because we're going to do what we want to do. And what we're going to do, if you remember this, we do a private int static or private static int. What I'm going to do is actually create an ID. These aren't even being set, right? So public private static int next ID equals 1. If you remember this from your assignments, so what we do is public user. So whenever a new user is created, we're going to assign the ID to the next ID, and then we increment the next ID. So this is just a nice, fast, easy way to create unique IDs as we're doing this. But we still have an issue. Okay, you're getting back those integers for our IDs. Well, what we can do is come down to this getter and say return a string. And what we're going to do is say string dot parse, or I think what it was, ID. I'm just going to make it easier for me. Just not thinking right now. Integer like that.
Because then you have the methods to do toString.
Exactly. I could also just do, I believe, string dot value of also if I have a primitive. I was just like, let's just do the toString. What's your problem? Oh, touche. And this is where we're going to do it. String dot. There we go. And now that there's strings, we have to use the equals method there. Because it's no longer a primitive. So this is what problems are. They always resonate somewhere, and then you just got to follow them all the way back to see what you can do. Let's go and see if this actually fixes our issues there. So we actually could go into Or was that in? That was an index, right? And we're going to actually remove this toString method too. There we go. Save that. And run. And we'll see if this helps us out. No, we're started. Go back over here. Go ahead and user/add. Okay. I don't think I've heard. Okay, maybe I'm just reading this incorrectly then. Hmm. Oh. Oh my gosh. Because the path variable was incorrect. Now that our IDs are strings, we're just gonna say string here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so that was the issue, most likely right there. So my path variable type was wrong, so it wasn't able to convert it from a string into an int. So we're gonna just keep things strings there because those are much nicer to work with sometimes. Go and user/add. Cool. Test. Now I'm getting a 500, so we're slowly working through those things. Let's see what it is. User.username, it's not actually there. So if we're gonna say, so if user, maybe it's not finding the user, so the ID is coming back, but what is the ID being passed back as? That's what I'm concerned about. Okay, if user equals null, meaning nothing was found, what we're going to do is that we're going to pass in a new
user.
We're going to do, well, just
Oh.
so we can debug stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We're going to pass in a new user and we're going to, so if it's found, we're just going to pass that one in. If it's there, what we're going to say is user, fake user, new user. And what we're going to do here is say fake user dots, and we're going to set the username, what we display there, to that ID, because I think something's wrong with the ID that's coming in. I don't know for sure. Set email to fake. There we go. And then we actually need to add over that fake user. Cool. Save that, stop, and then play. So run. Okay, so it's not coming back, and that's what's being passed in. So so what this tells me right here is that the information that I got off of Stack Overflow, or sorry, this is actually not off Stack Overflow, this is another one, was not correct of how to pass in those parameters into the path itself. So this is how I debugged it. What I'm going to do is pass the variable to thref. I have the correct one, right? Yeah, that's correct. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down so you guys can see. There we go. Oh, okay. Very interesting. So it's this whole shebang. What's funny, I think this is last year was the same issue. Okay, there we go. So what this is saying is that, I completely remember this now too. So what we're doing here is saying, hey, this is a variable, but we haven't defined what the variable is. So inside these parentheses, we're actually saying, okay, hey, ID, oh, we're gonna take this out. That ID that's over here is actually that user.id, that user, whatever's in that user model that I'm passing over. So just FYI. So that is actually how we want to make those URLs unique. Let's go and try to replay that. Cool, cool. Go back over here to localhost, go to do it all over again. Test another account, test, sign up, click test. And now we're actually seeing our username is test and our email is test@mail.com. There we go. So much work just to see that beautiful little page right there, right? So that is the correct way to do those unique URLs with Timeleaf. Cool, cool. Let's go back over here to this. Okay, so we did that. Add a date field in the user, initialize it to the time the user joined. User object was created, display the value of the property. Okay, we're gonna do this really, really quickly. So we're gonna do the add date in the user, initialize it to the time it's joined. Okay. So basically what we gotta do is go over to our user, we gotta come up here and we're gonna do another class variable. So we say private date, time, join date, something like that. Sure, why not? Import class. When you're doing this, make sure you do not click java.sql. You want the util. That right there, I've seen multiple times on many applications and many students' assignments, so please do not. All right, so what we need to do is we say join date equals new date. We say date dot, oh, is it all gone now? Okay. Back over to the old drawing board. I'm here. Nope, not JavaScript, I forgot. Java, please. That's right. New dates. Don't want that. You can just put it in the constructor as always, but I forgot what system. There we go. Now that will actually assign it to whatever today's date is. If you actually just create an empty date object, from what I recall properly, it will be the 1st of 1970, technically, because that's when all existence started. So when the clock started. That current time in millis is actually the amount of milliseconds from that date in 1970 to now. Any time prior to 1970 is actually a negative millisecond. So that's why time technically started in 1970. It's when the nerds took over. All right, that is our join date. So now we have to go ahead and do right click, do generate, setters, join date, perfect. That's what we want to see. And it's gonna be a pain. Nope, that's what we're gonna do it. We're not gonna do it that way. Cool. All right, user controller, what we need to do here is still going to here. What we're going to say is that instead of just displaying it directly out of the model itself, I don't want to have to deal with formatting it inside of TimeLeaf because TimeLeaf is slightly limited and hard to work with sometimes when you do complex things other than just inserting information. So I'm going to prepare the information for it to insert on this side. So add attribute and say date. That's it. And what we're going to do now is format the date. So if we come back here, to format a date in Java is a pain, an absolute nightmare. Dates in general are nightmares. I do not like working with dates. It is complex. Some people believe in it, some people don't. Like then you got like system saving, daylight savings times, like just like, can everyone just be on the same exact number? And of course, when you're working with a global system, everyone always says no, because apparently no one wants it to be 1 p.m. in the middle of the night. All right, so we have that date there. We don't need this one because we already have our date we're going to be using, and it's going to be from that user.getJoinDate. That's the date we're going to be using for this. So this formatter is going to give us our string back. Formatted date. Go. Close that. All right, we're going to stop there. Run. Oh, of course, I got to do one more thing here. Got to do our join dates. And it's not going to be user.email, not going to be user.joindate. It's going to be just that date because that's what we're passing over this model attributes. So remember, if you're doing any heavy lifting, if you have to do a lot of formatting or just a big algorithm, something, don't do it in TimeLeaf. Pass just the data you want to show to TimeLeaf. Don't make the web page do all that work when it's possible. Cool. All right. Go to here. User/add. We'll do it fine for the first one. Okay, Kyle. Test. No, nope. Click on Kyle. And there we go. We have a nice, beautiful little join date there. I joined on the 12th. So there you go. That's how we format that, send that data over properly. And officially now, completing our bonus missions. So there we go. Any final questions about this fun exercise? That was a big bonus mission there. And only two, they only made it like look so simple, like, oh, just do 2 things real quick. Like, no, liars. Nothing at all. All right. In that case, we are all done.